Customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DiJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution podcast with John DiJulius. In this week's episode, the tables are turned. This is part one of a two-part series on the relationship economy, where Jess Pischel, customer experience consultant for the DiJulius Group and dean of the Customer Experience Executive Academy, interviews John on his latest book, The Relationship Economy, Building Stronger Customer Connections in the Digital Age. In this episode, you'll learn how today's illiterate are those who have an inability to make a meaningful connection with others. Technology is not the enemy. Using it to eliminate the human experience is. How we are all living in the touchscreen age, why we have generations that are relationship disadvantaged, how all generations have less people skills than the previous, and what the relationship economy truly is. Now here's your host, Jess Pischel, interviewing John DiJulius.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 46 of the Customer Service Revolution. My name is Jess Pischel. I'm a customer experience consultant with the DiJulius Group, and I'm also the dean of the Customer Experience Executive Academy. So today we're flipping the script a little bit. I am going to be interviewing the John DiJulius on his latest book, The Relationship Economy. And it's all about building stronger connections and relationships in the digital age. So here's what you can expect to learn as a result of this podcast today and some topics that we're going to be covering. We're going to have you audit your 6 critical professional relationships. So what do those relationships look like and how can we improve them? How can we create relationship building training for our new and existing employees? If you're familiar with the DiJulius Group, you are familiar with the concept of FORD, Family, Occupation, Recreation, and Dreams, which is a great relationship building tool that you can use inside your business and outside. So we're going to cover that today and look at how those touch points affect relationship building. And then also, of course, making sure that you know and understand how to train your customer-facing employees to collect that FORD information and to be a great listener to build those relationships. So it's all about creating relationships that matter. And today's illiterate are those who have inability to make meaningful connections with others. So John, what does that mean to you? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, thank you, Jess. I'm really excited, a little nervous to be interviewed by the dean, but it's exciting. And yeah, that's it. I mean, it's a new era. And, you know, today's illiterate are those who just don't have inherent people skills, that don't naturally know how to build rapport with others at no fault of their own. And that's what we're talking about. Listen, there's a seismic shift happening in the world today. Technology is changing the world, but not always for the better. For all the benefits it's bringing to business, it's coming at a significant cost. And that cost is weaker human relationships that are vital to customer experience, employee experience, and just overall personal satisfaction.
So in your book, you reference a study that says in 2025, there will be more machines in the workforce than human beings. So talk to me a little bit about that, and then also how you see the salon business changing as a result of that. What have you been implementing, or what does that look like? Because I know you have another business, John Roberts Salon and Spa. How will that study impact your business there?
You know, it's impacting every business. I mean, artificial intelligence will have the ability to do nearly any job currently being done by human beings, from lawyers to judges to nurses to doctors, driving to construction. There's restaurants now that literally don't have a human being. There's cafes that literally are AI 100%. Even the barista is an artificial intelligence. And I've been told, it's important I stress this, I've been told that the world's oldest profession has artificial intelligent escort services. I'm not judging. I'm not recommending. I'm just reporting here. So, I mean, it's just crazy how far the artificial intelligence is reaching. So it changes everything. And, in the salon business, it's simple things from a significant percentage of our appointments are being booked online or on an app. So what once was a crowded call center taking appointments for all our salons is reduced. There's so many things that this is affecting, and it's great. But if the technology is your only point of difference, it's not really cutting edge anymore. Years ago, if you came out with some type of innovation, it could give you an advantage, a competitive advantage of 12 to 18 months. Well, now if that innovation is strictly technology, that might be 3 to 6 weeks, because technology is the easiest thing to copy. I'm sure you and a lot of our listeners have used in the past Uber and Lyft. Well, if you look at both their apps, they're the exact same. Other than the branding they may have at the top, it is the exact same app. So that's easy to copy. So it's critical that can't be your only differentiator.
Yeah. So the only differentiator on the Uber and Lyft app, you're right, is that color and that branding. And I think they're both pretty easy to use. They're both pretty functional. Honestly, I don't have a preference between Uber and Lyft. Usually, I mean, certain cities may have more drivers or less drivers. So maybe the wait time will make me use a different app. But the pricing, since they're so similar, it really comes down to, is Uber's going to be cheaper or is Lyft's going to be cheaper? I don't mind. I'll take either. So we have to be careful of that too, not getting into those price wars when we're focused on relationship and creating that experience too. And now everything is really becoming digital too. If you think about, you can order your groceries. It makes it so much easier. Target has the drive-up service, which has been really convenient for me because I love to shop and it's super easy. I could just do it right from my phone. And then I have a baby in the back seat. Now I don't have to get her out in the cold Cleveland weather and lug her into the store. And it's just so easy. You pull right up and they deliver the groceries or whatever I'm purchasing right out to your car. It just makes it so easy. And I know other locations are doing that too. I don't know if I don't think that will ever go away. I hope it doesn't, at least.
No, it's here to stay. I mean, COVID was an accelerant. It didn't change the world. It just accelerated the world. And all those things are huge, as you're pointing out. The convenience factor, the ease to do business, right? That's great. But when it comes at the cost of any human interaction, well, that's where you get dangerous. Because again, if I want to compete with those companies, I can offer the same type of app where you could pull up to my store and, or I could use Uber Eats to deliver to you. So what's the difference between my restaurant and any other restaurant if we both use Uber Eats or whatever the delivery system is?
Yeah, that's 100% true. And I think it becomes so easy to just order your food and have it delivered. If you had a relationship with that restaurant prior to COVID, you probably stayed pretty loyal to them through the pandemic. But like you said, now everyone is doing it. So you have options as a consumer, definitely. So I am a millennial. I'm a proud millennial. I know we get a bad rep.
You are a millennial, Jess.
I'm proud. But our generation does get a bad reputation sometimes when it comes to living in that touchscreen age. But I do truly believe it's not a generational thing anymore. Toddlers use it. My grandma, my Nana uses technology. We're always on our devices. We could do everything from our phone. We are always on social media, sharing things. And it's just, you can evaluate your screen time and realize how much you're really on your phone. So there's a cost associated with that, right? And I think you definitely cover that in the book, The Relationship Economy, but talk us through that a little bit more.
Well, first, back to your earlier point, I want to make sure people know out there, I'm not dissing technology. And personally that I love technology. I use it to its fullest. And, so technology is not the enemy. Using it to eliminate the human experience is. So, there's a lot of examples like this. There's examples with airlines, I think Spirit and other. If you go see not the gate agent, but the person before you go through security, whatever they're called, they're kind of, and you need to print off your boarding pass, they charge you. It's like a human interaction fee. There's a Fido, which is a wireless phone company, kind of like Verizon of Canada. And they want to get all their customers to use their self-service, right? Go to the website, use an attendant, use the chat bots, to the point that if you called up to speak to someone in their customer support, they would charge your account a $10 fee to speak with a human being. So, think about that. If you're at an age where technology is not easy for you to use, or you just can't find the answer and you don't know why you got charged something, you get punished. So that's, where we got to be careful. We're all living in a touchscreen age. And to your point, people start thinking, those millennials. And no, we're all guilty of it, right? I'm a boomer and I live in the touchscreen age. And it's not a generational thing. It's toddlers to grandparents. We're all on devices. We're all on social media. And the cost is every one of us, baby boomers, all the generations have a decline in people skills. And that's hurting us. So yes, we do have generations, millennials and Zoomers, who only grew up in the digital age, but the older generations, we have been, more guilty of digital devices, and that's okay, but our people skills are eroding.
Yeah, and to your point, we live in the world of instant gratification, right? Everything is delivered to us at the touch of a button. We have Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and it reminds me of that Simon Sinek quote, "Everything you want, you can have instantaneously, except job satisfaction and strength of relationships. There ain't no app for that." So strength of relationships, how important that is, and developing relationships with your clients, your team members, building and establishing that rapport. It's so important. And it's more important now than ever because we're on these Zoom calls day in and day out, that when we get back to the office, building those and maintaining those relationships are going to be so important. And it's just a skill that seems to be lacking a little bit right now. But is social isolation a millennial problem? You quoted in the book that a study that covers that 33% of millennials have no best friends. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it is sad. It is sad. And one thing I want to point out, Jess, you talked about when we get back in the office, we have to, a good percentage of people may never come back to the office and stay in a virtual world. Sure. So we can't wait. We got to build relationships with people, as we'll get into examples. But yeah, the report said that, everyone thinks the millennial generation are the ones screwed up from all this. And listen, they are. That reports that 22% say they have no friends, 30% say they feel lonely, and 33% have no best friends. I mean, that is troubling. I mean, it's tragic and needs to be addressed. However, it's not only the millennials. The report said every generation is reported that they're at their all-time loneliness. So, baby boomers are at their loneliest. It's just the world we're living in. And this was pre-pandemic.
Right.
And we know the pandemic really heightened that. But since you're from the millennial, what do you see, Jess? Is that surprising, those statistics to you?
It really is. Those statistics are definitely surprising to me. I feel like a few of those there don't necessarily apply to me and to my friend group and my community, but I truly believe that you are the average of the top, 5 people you spend the most time with.
Spend the most time with, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I have a good friend group that I don't necessarily fall into these statistics, but I do believe, like you said about the loneliness, it is a societal crisis right now because of the pandemic, and it's even more people are feeling lonely because we were in isolation for how long, and now we're still operating behind face masks. So I think that plays a piece there too, and just makes it a little bit harder to develop relationships.
Well, I got to believe, Jess, obviously I see you and, in the past couple of years, you've gotten married, you had a baby girl, all your friends are doing the same. But I'm wondering, with the pandemic, were showers virtual? Were they canceled? Weddings, like those are typical things that in someone's late 20s, early 30s, you are fortunately being forced pre-pandemic to see people. What happened to your world during the pandemic with friends supposed to get married or having baby showers or, all those things?
All the above. I mean, everyone had to pivot to be creative, to have virtual options, and still wanting to have and enjoy these special times, but they just looked a little bit different. I feel like at the beginning of the pandemic, we had, weekly Zoom calls with friends across the country. And I even had friends planning on coming in town that just got canceled and delayed and delayed and delayed. And unfortunately still haven't seen some of those friends for a while. But I think with the showers and the weddings, people are just becoming more creative in what they can do, and virtual showers are a thing, or drive-by showers, and just kind of dropping the gift off. Also seeing that just not wrapping the gifts at showers, because we don't want to have too many people crowded around watching at the same time or in a small space indoors. So just being a little bit more flexible and adapting to those. But I still believe that you have to maintain those relationships, and the happiest people are the ones that have the most meaningful relationships. And I think you comment in the book that those people also live longer, which makes sense when you think about it. I mean, and I had I was talking to a client and a friend of mine from Celebrity Cruises a couple weeks ago, and he recently just had a baby as well. And we were talking about how both of our babies seem to be pretty happy. And he made the comment like, yeah, you and Ryan are happy people. And so you have a happy baby. And that's how it kind of works out. So it was reassuring to hear that in the midst of all this chaos and the pandemic, that we're still doing the right thing and connecting with those people and maintaining those relationships. So it was nice to hear that's kind of happening.
Interested in bringing John or the DiJulius Group team to work with your team? Message us today to schedule a keynote, workshop to create your own customer experience action statement, or a full consulting project. Email Claudia@thedijuliusgroup.com to get started.
This is so important, but if you're listening, you might be thinking, well, this is a business customer service podcast. Well, why are we talking so much? Well, because A, it's an issue, but B, it's part of the problem of these are, both our customers and employees that are losing their people skills. So we have to understand the dynamics to know how to fix it. And, so we're talking about how the younger generation is relationship disadvantaged. Well, here's the thing. Leaders are getting younger. 40% of employees have a boss that's younger than them. And that statistic is only going up. All right. So what does that mean? That means that while digital intelligence is up because these younger leaders know the digital world, emotional intelligence is down. And because of the digital revolution, many members of our younger generation lack the necessary people skills that previous generations had decades to build. And you can't microwave emotional intelligence.
So to summarize what we've covered so far about those who are relationship disadvantaged. So we talked a little bit about the decline in the digital age and the decline in people skills, the fact that we all are using high-tech, no-touch experiences, right? It's just simply clicking that button and your food is delivered to your porch. How we have younger leaders now, and there really is a lack of relationship building training. And I think that probably is the most important piece, because when I work with clients, many of them don't have training or systems to help their team members understand how important soft skills are. It's something we learned in kindergarten, maybe preschool, but it really hasn't been touched on there isn't necessarily a college course that I had to attend or part of my curriculum about relationship building or about soft skills and smiling and making a relationship with clients. And so it's so important that we teach our people that, and that we emphasize the importance that they really truly understand it. So in summarizing there, I think that last one is probably the most important piece, is just the lack of relationship building training that I see in the clients that I get to work with.
Well, and I want to echo, it's really important. This is not about the millennials and Zoomers. Yes, at no fault of their own, they are relationship disadvantaged, but every generation has a rapid decline of people skills. And so when we say that the best companies at customer experience are because they train their employees on relationship building, that's also, the older generations, every generation, because you have to get people back to the basics. And there was a study, a great report done by Price Waterhouse, and it was titled "Experience is Everything," and we'll include it in the show notes and how to get it right. But it was just a great report. One of the parts of the article examined what drives customers away. Existing customers, why do they leave your business? And there was 13 reasons, things that companies do or their employees do that drives customers away. And what was really shocking to me is the top 4 reasons why you lose customers. 3 of them, of the top 4, were things that I would attribute to employee behavior. A lack of soft skill training, knowledgeable employees, unfriendly service, bad employee attitude. Think about that. Most companies don't spend enough training on the soft skills. So that's really where it comes in. It's not that they didn't have technology or their product was inferior. They were losing their customers to the unknowledgeable employees, unfriendly employees, and bad employee attitudes. That could all be fixed. And it's not even meaning changing the employees. It's meaning training your employees better. So that's what brings us to the relationship economy. And the relationship economy is basically where the primary currency is the emotional connections made with customers, employees, and vendors that result in your organization becoming the brand customers can't live without, and thus making price irrelevant.
Yeah, and just to talk about those top 4 reasons that you just covered, like you said, we have the control. Those are things that we actually can control if we have an intentional training plan behind it. And I was at a conference where I had the pleasure of speaking at the GNext conference, which was in Miami, Florida this week. And I opened my keynote presentation with a question to the audience. And I asked them, if I were to close my eyes and point and pick out one of you out of the audience to come up on stage and I would dial your business phone number that I find on Google, would I receive world-class customer service from that representative that answered the call? And, there was some mumbling in the audience, but everyone just was like, please don't call on me. Please do not put my phone number up on the screen and let's call that number. So I think we have to make sure that we are completely confident and guarantee that whoever answers the phone at our organizations, whoever's that front desk person, they have the skills to build that relationship. They don't have bad employee attitudes, unfriendly service. They're not knowledgeable. Those were the top reasons that you just named. Can we guarantee that we are going to give world-class customer service when we call your number? So I think it just recaps like what you just said about those top 4 reasons. We have the ability to control those things. It's just making sure that we have time and energy dedicated to doing that.
100%.
So there are 6 critical professional relationships, from leaders, employees, your customers or your clients, your vendors being number 4, the community number 5, and then influencers being number 6. And you recommend that within those critical professional relationships, you create a relationship report card. Now, what is that?
A relationship report card is this great, it's in the book and companies use it. So you list those, 6 key relationships, and then there's 3 rows. and we'll provide a link to this report card so everyone listening can take it and have their employees take it. But it basically has 3 columns. So the 4 columns. The first column is the different relationships that are critical to your business, your customers, your coworkers, employees, vendors, all that. And then the 3 columns that follow is, how important is this relationship to my success? And you can rank them 1 to 5. Critically important, 1, or 5 is low importance. And they could all be 5s, they could all be 1s, they're whatever. Not to everyone in your organization is every relationship critically important, but it's important to know. And then the second column is order of importance. All right, so now if you had 3 1s, which is critically important, rank them to your future success. Rank them to 1 through 8. So each of them gets a 1 or 1 through 6. And then the third column is how do you grade yourself right now at strength of relationship? And that's back to 1 to 5. So Jess, you might say that your client relationship is number 1 to you, or, with your direct manager, whatever it may be. But then when you go to the strength of the relationship, you might not give it that good of a grade, which is showing that you have work to do. So it's kind of self-reporting from a standpoint. And it's really, it really helps you focus on where there's opportunities and you create a strategy around improving that relationship with each one of those partnerships, if you will.
Yeah, that's a great exercise to really evaluate where your relationships are and which are the most important and which ones you need to dedicate a little bit more time and energy to. So nearly 90% of senior level executives say there's nothing more important to the success of their business other than the relationships that we have. Yet, unfortunately, only 5% say they have a developed strategy to strengthen those relationships. So 90% say it's the most important thing for the company's success, but only 5% have a strategy to make those relationships better. That's such an incredible statistic. I mean, it really tells people that they need to spend more time here. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, if it's most important to you, it's kind of like when people say, their health and fitness is the most important to their life, but, very few work out or eat right. Right. I mean, and it's even similar to the podcast we did recently on world-class internal culture. Jess, you shared a study on that. 90% of people, leaders said that culture is most important to the future success. Yet, only 10% said that their culture is getting better. Right. So we know what we need to do, but we aren't building a strategy. So that's what the rest of the book is. All right, we've shared the monster, the elephant in the room, that we have poor relationship skills today. Now, how to fix it. And make no mistake about it, the lack of social skills our society has is the problem of business leaders to solve. So the best companies have found a way to marry the digital with the human interaction. That's totally what the rest of the book is about, is how these companies have married digital and technology while still keeping a human element to it.
So there are a few strategies to dominate the relationship economy that you reference. And I know you talked about the fact that technology is something that you really like to use to make our jobs easier and more efficient and all of those things. So using technology to perform those basic tasks, not that you're not recommending we take away technology, right? You're encouraging it, but that we're still enabling the spare time that those employees have to focus on the most important thing, which is building those relationships, higher customer loyalty, retention, job satisfaction. So using the technology to perform those basic tasks so you have time to dedicate to relationships, developing those relationships. And then the second one is building a culture that creates emotional connections with your employees. And then the third is create relationship building training for new and existing employees. So why do you think there is that relationship deficit society right now?
Well, it's all the points that we talked about. Listen, there's no greater skill that any of us, ourselves, our kids, can work on that will have a more profound impact to their happiness, their success, fulfillment, than the ability to build an instant rapport with others, whether it's a stranger, a coworker, a customer, an acquaintance, a friend, an old friend. Everyone would agree that if you could have one superpower, it would be to build an instant rapport with others. Most of us would agree with that. That skill, as you pointed out, isn't taught anywhere. It's not taught in school. Unfortunately, it's not taught at home anymore. I mean, listen, we were guilty of raising our kids, who are millennials and Zoomers, giving them an iPad. Well, first it was, having them watch a movie to babysit them while we got our chores done or our work done or whatever we were doing. Then, now it's like, give them an iPad and that'll consume them so we can do what we need to do. And it's not being trained enough at home. It's certainly not a course in school. And the only place it can happen, and it's happening at the best businesses, are in the training. And that's really where we get into the training. The best companies have relationship building as part of their orientation, soft skill training, and ongoing. And that's the critical component.
Wow. Thanks, John, for that recap. I 100% agree with everything you said. We have the biggest area of opportunity right now to capitalize on the relationships that we are building. So thank you so much for your time today. This is part 1 of the 2-part segment on the relationship economy. So we are asking that you tune in next week to learn more about the relationship economy when we do part 2, which will be episode 47. Thank you so much, John, and thank you, Revolutionaries, for your time today.
Thank you, Dean, Jess.
Join us this fall for the Customer Service Revolution Conference, live in Cleveland, Ohio. Tickets are on sale now at customerservicerevolution.com. Thanks for being part of the revolution. We hope you're enjoying the podcast and would love to hear your feedback. Leave us a review and be sure to subscribe to hear more episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts.